Welcome to Podcast 7, the Transhumanistic Agenda, Part 1. I want to thank you for sharing in my new endeavor with podcasts and videos, and I hope that you're enjoying them. The first podcast that I did was on King John III, the Antichrist system, and I want to talk about that just for a bit because I'm getting a lot of commentary on that particular podcast or video. And I just want to say to all of you that I'm just passing on information that I have researched and thoughts that I streamed together, put together on their agenda, on their thinking, and on what they feel is illumination. So I share that. I shared that with quite a lot of sarcasm, actually. So I don't believe in it. I believe it's foolish, but it is part of the Luciferian plan, and I believe he's absolutely a hoax and a silly puppet. So I just want to put that out there. The other podcasts that I've done are We Are Gods, which talks about who we are and how we need to return to the knowledge and the awareness of who we are in order to rise up out of this matrix itself. Another podcast I did was on communication, the kingdom of peace. And I do want to invite more people to watch that or listen to that, because ultimately when it comes to communication, or when it comes to rising, when it comes to leaving the matrix, we have got to have healthier and more functional communication happening between all of us. We can't get together and have discussions if we don't know how to talk. And we need to have the discussions. We need to come together and dream and imagine a new world, a new earth, something that is much better than this. And if we can't come together and talk about things, then we can't create together, and we can't thus create a new earth. So please have a listen to that. I will be doing more on communication, even though it's my least listened to podcast. It is probably one of the most fundamental conversations we can be having. Let's see. The other one is changes within, and that ultimately is just about changes within us in order to change the world, or what is outside of us. Can't change the world if we don't change ourselves. So in that podcast I take a look at how we can do that. Another podcast that I put out there is Stepping into the Higher Plan, and that is about what isn't working and what is working, and how to strategize, become very strategic in our movement, the way we place our thoughts, our intentions, our emotions, and so on and so forth, in order to move forward and up and out of the matrix. So that is also one I recommend listening to. And the last one that I made is Religion and the Truth of Oz. And I actually, I'm very proud of that podcast. I think it's very beautiful. I think it's very tasteful the way I talk about religion, and also to bring together the Wizard of Oz, the movie, the storyline, making it come together in a beautiful blend for discussion and for deeper thinking. So I invite you also to listen to that. But I thank you for those who are listening. And today I want to actually go into another topic, which is the topic of transhumanism. And the reason why is that ultimately the entire trajectory of the rulership, the globalists, the cabal, our adversaries, whatever you want to call it, this is their ultimate plan. This is their movement. This is their strategy against the human biology, or the human being. And so if we don't start really heavily discussing the transhumanistic agenda, we're going to fall through the cracks, because it's moving in on us extremely quickly. Is the transhumanism happening already? Absolutely. It is not a possibility. This is the matrix crystallizing itself in total full display of its trajectory, its movement, and it is most definitely happening. And so we need to discuss it. We need to understand what's really going on. And in this podcast, I'm going to use words that we oftentimes think of as religious. And I'm going to ask you to put all of that aside, all of those thoughts that we were taught to believe in, and just listen and understand that the words that we're using are actual words that are being used by our predators, the predators that are moving in upon and against the human experience and expression. So I want to just go ahead and feel free to use the words that they use, and let us just go ahead and put religiosity aside here. The reality is that, and what's important to note in this conversation is that we don't live on a round sphere or on a planet that's floating out in outer space with all these other planets and all these other moons and stars, the galaxy as we're taught. That's not really where we live. It's not the truth. We live in a realm. We live in a realm that allows us to move through dimensions. That's what CERN's all about. It's about helping the adversaries to move into new dimensions and to bring the earth and all of us with it. Now, why is that important with transhumanism? Well, it's important to note that we live in a realm as opposed to living on a sphere that's floating into space, because the predators have placed in our consciousness that we live on a very unstable planet, guided by gravity, guided by these different planetary frequencies, and that we're just floating off into outer space, and that there is life beyond this planet in outer space that can come in and disrupt and harm this frequency or this realm, causing us humans to live in concern and fear, so that comets and fireballs and aliens can just land on the earth and therefore create hell on earth and harm us and kill us and so on and so forth. That falsehood really implants a lot of different structures in our mind that are false belief systems, and it allows fear to brew extensively. And so when we can remove the fear by knowing the truth, then we can start dealing with what is in this reality and then be able to change it if it's not working for us. And let me say, everything that is in this realm is really not working in favor of the human expression, nor in the favor of animals or nature at this time whatsoever. So when we look at the Earth planetary system, we're really looking at it as a realm. And the realm is its energy, its vibration, and its frequency. All things are. And so is this realm. And so is this land mass and water mass that we are floating upon or moving through, where we are imagining this particular life that we're living together in this world that we're living in. But I don't want to get too deeply into that. What I want to say is, because we're living in a realm allowing different dimensions to move through each other, I want you to understand that there are beings in this realm that are sharing this realm with us that are interdimensional beings, but not of human expression. We have not been alone here for thousands and thousands of years, if not millions. I'm not sure what the time frame is, because time is an illusion and it doesn't hold the truth. So I hate to just claim time. Nonetheless, there are different interdimensional beings that are sharing this realm with us. And those interdimensional beings would be considered the Greys, or the Satanists, which is the first beast system that's been ruling this world for over 2,000 years, and the Luciferian beast system, that is the second beast system that is now taking power, taking control of this realm and the lives of all that live here. And so that's what I want to talk about. I want us to understand that the main systems of rulership or leadership in this world have been operating out of the satanic frequency. And the Satanists are the ones that are very big into the pedophilia, crimes, adrenochrome, rape, breeding programs, utilizing religion, creating school systems, government systems. Everything that we've been experiencing in our lifetime was created by the satanic first beast system. Over at least 100 years, the Luciferian beast system has been surging towards taking control and power. These two factions have been fighting and warring against each other. They've been playing in this game of risk, or this game of monopoly, so on and so forth. The satanic system is all about meism or selfishness, narcissism. It is about individualism and what can I get. It is about keeping everything separated and moving through a materialistic, commercialized, corporate entity world. It is all about maritime law. The Luciferian system is, well, actually the satanic system also, I just want to say, is the black occult system. That is the yin, that dark force, that dark nature. And the Luciferian system is about the light. It is about AI technology. It's about robotics. It's about higher mind. It's about pretty much technology and the belief that all things that are supreme and of the light move through a technological frequency as opposed to a natural earth-based frequency. And that's yang. So really the Satanists and the Luciferians are like a snake with two heads. Truly. It's a two-headed snake. And it's the yin and it's the yang. It's the light and the dark. It is duality. And this duality is just shifting its power control grid on this earth. And what's happening is that humanity, along with all of nature, is caught up in the middle of the change of guards. So, and it doesn't really matter whether it's the Satanists or the Luciferians, they don't have love for humanity. We were created, we were taken over so that we can be enslaved in order to be labor, in order to be of servitude to these two entities, and specifically the satanic entity. So that's what's been going on for all of these years, for all of these many generational time frames, where we have been fully and completely controlled by the satanic first beast system and enslaved, completely brainwashed and lied to and deceived, completely unknowing of what the truth is. And that's what they wanted us, was to be in a position where we didn't know the truth. And now humanity, as it's happened in the past when there are many resets, that we actually are waking up again. We're moving into higher consciousness or higher awareness, beginning to recognize that what we've been living is a lie. And that's the true prime creator that's sending frequency and the help from the higher realms in order to help this realm to awaken. Hopefully awaken in time before this change of guards was meant to happen, because this was already foretold well over 100 years ago and could be up to 400 years ago. The Luciferian system has taken control and power. That's where King John III, who is a hoax and it is a sham, but has been put in position as part of the Luciferian Agenda, or the New Age Luciferian Agenda, as they like to coin it. And so therefore, understanding that they the Luciferians use the words New Age in order to identify themselves. The Georgia Guidestones have been written by the Luciferian alignment. That's why they talk about the New Age or the Golden Age. These are the keepers of the time of Aquarius. We sit here and we think that we are talking about how the light workers are rising and bringing us all into the fifth dimensional reality and that sort of thing, because the Luciferian second beast system created Scientology and created the New Age cult spiritual movement in order to program the minds of those who were waking up from moving away from religion to spirituality. And so, like all things, they had to come in and they had to contain our spiritual growth. So they mobilized more deception upon us so that we would become believers in actually their Luciferian mindset. I hate to say that. And I myself was involved in the New Age spiritual movement for over 30 years to one degree or another. And as I kept waking up, I kept finding that the truth about it, that it was filled with deception, ego, narcissism, and very false teachings. So I moved out of it. Anyhow, what I want to say is all of these parts and parcels of the satanic first beast system and the Luciferian second beast system have now shifted. However, just like all these years when the Satanists ran the world, the Luciferians were here and they were integrated into all of this. The way the world systems and agendas were constructed. We think, well, the Luciferians are taking over, the Satanists will go away. That will mean that pedophilia and everything's going to take a bow and be taken out of this, out of the equations. But the reality is that's not going to happen, because there are many overlapping factors that happen between the Luciferians and Satanists that create an environment that allows each side of the same coin or the two-headed snake to exist. They work together cohesively to support the realm in such a fabric of deception and lies in order to maintain control over humanity. Humanity, we are fourth dimensional beings, and we have an eternal spirit that continues on past the lifetimes that we live here. And so when we talk about the Satanists or when we talk about the Luciferians, they don't have souls. They don't have that eternal essence or presence. Humans do. That is why they covet us. That's why they deceive us. That's why they keep us shadowed in the darkness, so that we don't know who we are. We don't know our souls. We don't know that we are fourth dimensional beings capable of rising well above the satanic and Luciferian agendas and systems and energy frequencies. Now, the Satanists did not have a desire to bring in transhumanism. Transhumanism falls under the Luciferian AI entity or being. People say, well, AI isn't alive. Well, AI is. What is bringing AI forward, and that technology is alive and has the technology to move life forward through a transhuman agenda and frequency, AI frequency and agenda, robotics, cloning, and that sort of thing. So as I said, transhumanism, it is not a possibility. It's in existence now. And it is the matrix now crystallizing in full display of itself without any question. And everything that they are designing and are activating within this world presently. And as I said before, for quite a long time, hundreds of years, is all for this one ultimate purpose, and that is transhumanism. Now, the things that they've been doing to bring forward the transhumanistic movement are many. And I'll get into that in just a second. But I want you to understand that when it comes to the transhumanists, they believe that everything that is beyond the naked body is transhumanistic. So clothing, eyeglasses, hearing aids, shoes, hair dye, wigs, nail polish, surgery, transgenderism, plastic surgery, anything that changes the natural form of the human being, to them is called transhumanism. So they say, well, you've already been doing that. We put a pacemaker in your heart. You now have a machine. You have it connected to a computer. You are transhuman. If they put a new hip joint or a new knee in, or putting pins in the shoulder, or whatever is going on when they're adding metal or staples or whatever inside the body, that to them is transhumanism. So in their mind, they're believing that we're already in process of changing. So what's a little bit more, especially if a little bit more is taking us to a place of living eternally in this realm? Okay, so I want you to hear that. It's about living eternally in this realm of existence. And by doing so, that removes us from being a participant in all the vibrations and frequencies available beyond the Satanic and Luciferian agenda, where the true prime creator and all these other beautiful existences happen and we've participated in. So, what are they doing to help enable bringing the human expression into a transhuman design? And one of the first things we could take a look at is geoengineering and the chemtrails. Because inside the chemtrails, they are spraying a tremendous amount of nanotechnology, chaff or chaff, whatever you want to call it, graphene, heavy metals, chemicals, fungi, bacteria, viruses. They're doing that not only to control the weather, which they're doing, and to cloud seed and that sort of thing. Controlling the weather means that they control this realm and this earth and everybody. That means humans, that means countries, that means continents. So by controlling weather, they control all things, even food source. But inside the chemtrails, they have nanobots, they have the nanotechnology, they have the graphene. And as they spray that upon us, it gets inside of us. And it has a living energy, a living essence. It has the ability to replicate themselves. It creates fibers. And those fibers begin to take over and entangle inside our matrix system in our biology. That is one of the biggest places that they are really using transhumanistic technology on us. And unfortunately, that means everybody has the nanotechnology, the nanobots, the fibers, and that sort of thing inside of our bodies. Another thing that they have used against us are the vaccines. The vaccines that are loaded with heavy metals and with chemicals, with viruses and bacteria, changing our DNA from what we have always known ourselves to be to something new and different. We're taking the different helixes that are part and parcel of the human DNA, and now they consider upgrading them, that they're making superhumans by changing the strands and changing the helixes within. And vaccines are part and parcel of that. Also with autism and creating all sorts of problems within the human body. So it would be neuro diseases like autism and muscular multiple sclerosis and that sort of thing, but it also attacks the autoimmune system, so that people come down with all sorts of different diseases that attacks the minds, attacks the body, attacks the will. The people that are more sensitive are the ones that are going to wake up others. The more sensitive you are, the more aligned and in tune you are with your soul, and also therefore with the true prime creator. Vaccines are fabulous at destroying the minds, destroying the emotions, and destroying the body, the temple in which we live within, and therefore bringing us into a state of a lack of awareness, a lack of consciousness that's going on. And so therefore rising or standing up against and becoming more aware of the different factions and what's really happening, and that we live in a realm and that we are being controlled, so on and so forth. So the vaccines are absolutely genius in the design of destroying the human biology. And then also there are GMO foods, there are the lab-created foods, and these foods are great for the transhuman being that doesn't need natural foods. They've been using the genetically modified organisms in order to genetically modify us, and when we eat GMO foods, we are becoming genetically modified. Adding in pesticide, creating pesticide-laden foods is also creating not only biological illnesses, but it's also creating, again, a change of mind, a change of emotion, and a change of our physiology overall, including our DNA. Pharmacology. What pharmacology is take a little bit of herb, a little bit of something natural, mix it in with petrochemical, mix it in with synthetic items, mix it in with heavy metals, mix it in with casting of spells and dangerous occult magic, and then having people take these deadly and lethal drugs and going in for deadly and lethal surgeries, most of them unnecessary. And again, I'll repeat that they use nanotechnology and the graphene. But another place that they come at us to bring favor and movement towards transhumanism is actually transgenderism. And I will be doing podcasts in the future just on transgenderism, but to understand why it's important to the transhumanistic movement. COVID-19, the coronavirus lie deception, is all about moving us towards transhumanism. How is that? By putting a mask on us. When they insist that we wear a mask, or by fear encouraging us to wear a mask, it is removing the human face, that we don't see each other anymore beyond just eyes. And our eyes are filled with fear and concern and worry and rage. So the mask is really about masking us. It's about making a statement that we are receiving our next leveling up of enslavement, or leveling down, if you will, and also taking and removing our faces. Quarantine. The quarantine is very much part and parcel of keeping our eyes and our minds distracted, focusing on things that aren't true, while they implant and start to align future deployment towards this transhumanistic agenda against us. And the reality is the quarantines are fabulous, along with the social distancing, to begin to disconnect the human expression, because the way humans survive is by social grouping. We survive by having strong family ties, community ties, ties with our friendship, with our churches, with our education, and with our work. When we begin to be removed from social patterns that we've been accustomed to for thousands of years, it is actually changing the way we think about things. It's changing the structure of not only our minds and our emotions, but also our souls and our bodies. It's breaking it down. It's manifesting a new reality where we believe that living alone and not having social structure is important to us. So quarantines and social distancing is, again, about ushering in the transhumanistic agenda, because transhumanism is about isolation. It's about an overall collective for the predators, but it's about isolation for the transhuman being, keeping us from nature. They don't want us to participate in nature anymore, and the reason why is nature is our grounding field of a field of energy. It's our frequency that we connect to that gives us our sense of well-being. It gives us our health. It gives us our radiance. It reminds us of who we are. So they're trying to take us out of nature. Nature is only for them. Nature is not for the human being anymore. It's not for animals anymore. They have no need of that. AI technology has no need of that. So when we are removed from nature, we are literally removed from the true prime creator, because this realm, this earth that we live on, that we share with the animals, with the trees, and with all of nature, all the flora and fauna, where we plant our food and we grow our food and harvest our food, we are one with it. By removing us from that, it's removing us from source. You see, it's removing us from all that replenishes us. And they are going to layer our lives only in that which is synthetic, all that is of the technology that they're deploying. That's all they want us to be focused on. They've also been removing food source so that they can bring in the GMO foods and the foods from the laboratories. And again, I'll just reiterate, they are separating our minds away from human and animal connections. And eventually, they will be removing animals from our lives. We won't be allowed to have pets if we continue on this trajectory. Everything's about isolation. If we have human connection, as I said, we fight. We are stronger. We become warriors. We want to protect our families. If we have connection with animals, we have connection to spirit, to source, to the true prime creator. They remind us, again, who we are, because we're so distant from our souls at this point. Another thing that they put into our world are the devices. It's just plain and simple. We know that our cell phones, our pads, our video games, our TVs, our radios, the computers, the smart meters, any smart technology, all of these devices are hooking us into the 5G grid. The 5G grid is all about AI. It is all about transhumanism, and it's all about robotics. It has nothing to do with data. It has nothing to do with faster speed. In fact, when they turn on the 5G switch, it's funny, most of us, whether you're living in the wilderness or you're living in the cities, have difficulty with signal, because the 5G system is actually interfering with our signals, our devices, and even our computers. By having us quarantined from schools and from work employment, they are pushing us all onto the computer. We now will be learning through the computer. That's been happening since my daughter was a child. They wanted our kids onto computers for learning rather than in textbooks, because they can control us through the computer. Not only is it controlled information coming through the computer, but all the information that we're inputting into the computer is going back to them, feeding the AI technology. So by creating our lives to be educated and to work through the computers and our devices, we are becoming fully connected to the cloud or the AI grid system. So all smart meters, all smart technology, all smartphones, that's absolutely diabolical and again genius to put that in our hands. And now they're moving that technology into the cryptocurrency and moving us completely into the virtual world, where the Luciferian agenda is always and will always be meant to take us. And you can see also in the outer world how they're implementing this type of technology. Self-operating registers, cars, trucks that are now robotic, that don't need drivers anymore, and the 5G, 6G, 7G, and 8G systems, because 6G through 8G is planned because that has to come in. These more intense, dirty frequencies that are harmful to all of life, all of sentient life on this planet, must come in to fulfill the AI, transhumanistic, cloning, and robotic agenda. The robots are coming in to replace all the work that humans do. Robots at this point can fight in wars. Robots can kill people. They can create textiles. They can work in industry. Robots have the great capability of taking almost every job away from a human being. So if robots are doing all the industrialized work, taking that away from humans, it then places the humans that survive this transition into being completely connected to the computer AI grid system through a transhuman body. So these are just the main ways that they're bringing in the transhumanistic agenda. Meanwhile, we're looking at it as an upgrade in technology and going, oh, wow, that's cool. Oh, that video game is awesome. Oh, check out this new phone. Oh, wow, that pad is incredible. Wow, it's faster data. That's wonderful. Yeah, look at this car. I want to buy this car because it's got all of these computer systems in it. And it does so much for me now. And I can wire through the Wi-Fi system and through these satellites and all these different programs. I can wire my house to my car to everything, and right to my cell phone where I just press buttons and my coffee maker goes on and my television is programmed and Alexa is talking to me, so on and so forth. So they have been for a long time moving us into this technological grid system, a place that we've been before and a place that they lost, but so did we, and we had a reset. Throughout the ages, we see the endless quest. This is another part of it. It's the core part of why transhumanism is so important to these beings. Because throughout the ages, we see that endless quest for the fountain of youth. And we see it back in the hieroglyphs, we see it in paintings, we see it in different pictorials, we see it in poetry, novels, movies, as well as we are seeing it in fashion. We see it in makeup, in herbs with quotes, I say that, in science and surgeries. The fountain of youth is the very thing that is constantly being looked for, the great seeking, the Holy Grail, if you will. And it isn't the Holy Grail, but to them, they're seeking that, the Holy Grail, the fountain of youth, longevity, immortality. And immortality is really important because the globalists or the cabal, the predators, both the Satanists and the Luciferians, they are soulless. And they are yearning desperately for immortality. And they have spent centuries perfecting a way to become immortal. They have acquired all the wealth, all the gold and silver, and all the riches and resources of this realm and environment of this earth in order to have all the power, and with all the power to seek and have every opportunity to discover immortality for themselves, because the human being has an eternal soul, and these predators don't have a soul. Therefore, they may live long lives, much longer than us, particularly since they have all their needs fulfilled, all their sustaining ability, all the great foods, and so on and so forth. And we do not. So we live shorter lives. We used to live longer lives. Nonetheless, whenever we die, we continue on. When they pass away, they don't. It's over for them. So we need to look at the earth and understand that she is a perfect ecosystem to inherit immortal life upon. You see, it's a blue planet. It has beautiful land. It has glorious nature. It has all the water. It has all the oxygen. It has everything. And it's in its own perfect balance in order to inherit inherit a immortal life to live upon for forever. It is a most sustainable planet to dream into realization, immortality, because she is rich in endless resources. She is rich in quintessential beauty, and she is rich in spiritual presence in order to maintain a future sustainability for those that are privileged enough to be allowed the quote-unquote right to life that moves us into the future. You see, we were told that dinosaurs existed, and through dinosaurs and their fossilization, we have oil. And once we use up the oil, it's going to be all gone. But the reality is that oil is renewable. And there weren't dinosaurs that created bones that created fossil fuel. That's ridiculous. But oil comes from the lymphatic system of the earth. And therefore, always, because she's always taking in and always moving through her, through the lymphatic system of herself. So oil is a consistent and constant renewable resource. And so many parts and parcels of our beautiful earth are renewable. All this global warming and all of this will happen, and then Nibiru's going to come, and then the sun's going to burn up, and the moon's going to explode, and the animals are going to die, and it's just been, wars are going to happen, and nuclear bombs are going to go off, and they have been telling us shit for centuries to keep us in fear, to always keep us in chaos and frightened, to believe that this earth, this ball that's floating through the endless space that never ends, and this universe moves into that universe, and then they got the multiverses, and you can collide into black holes and wormholes, and comets can be shooting through, and if we weaken the atmosphere, then it can't bounce off, it's going to come through, it's going to create this, it's going to do that, and it's just all a bunch of hubbubaloo. This is a beautiful, self-sustaining environment that could keep humanity and all of life healthy and loved and nurtured and abundantly joyful. However, the predators are not wanting that for us. Our earth is controllable, and has been shown that she gives way to their will through advanced technology. It's not just how humans and animals are exploited and controlled, but the earth herself is being imprisoned and controlled through their advanced technology, particularly through the geoengineering program that keeps her bound up. They're changing her weather patterns, they're changing her systems, and also through oil and fracking, and so on and so forth. Well, what we as a species of beings must come to the realization about is that this future possibility is already successfully realized. Transhumanism is already in operation. It's already happening. It's been happening for a long time. And B, this will be the future of the new humanity. And that our present day mode of expression is soon to become obsolete. You see, the human model that we are now is moving into permanent retirement. The human model that we have been has been reset several times. And one of the things I will say, I don't know this for sure. It's just deduction, and I'm pretty good at deducing and realizing, putting all these little different tidbits together to get a better look at a picture of their agendas. But they have been drilling into our heads through the New Age spiritual model, that we are moving to the fifth dimension. And you know what? I'm not seeing that. We are fourth dimensional beings. The earth is a fifth dimensional being who's ensnared in a third dimensional reality. And the earth and humanity are having trouble getting out of this third dimensional web, right? So what has happened is, in previous times is that we, the human model that we were, is reset and changed into a different human model that fits and suits their agendas and their progress, their evolution, what their needs are. So if they need us to go into and be a labor force for the industrial era, then what they do is they create the human model that has the digits and the thumbs and has the capability to create in industry, to build and to sustain through that particular model, through that particular era. If it was previously in conquering continents or land masses, then there is a more ruggedness about the human mind and the human heart, where we would go in, we could be used as warriors and soldiers to go in and conquer others in order to take over and have ownership of different land masses. Nonetheless, that's simplification in a very big way. But with the 5D ingrained in our minds at the same time as 5G, the 5G, so G stands for Gwen, G stands for gigahertz, G stands for generation. The 5G stands for all of those three things, but I think it also stands for the 5th genocide of humanity and the world as we know it this time. And that's the 5G system is here to deploy the ending or the depopulation of the human model, because they want to put us out to pasture. What we are now, they consider non-sustainable, because the reality is the way that the satanic first beast system and the Luciferian second beast system look at humans and animals and trees and everything, trees not so much, but all that needs to eat are useless feeders. We hear that all the time, right? So they look at us as chattel. They look at animals as cattle, right? And so we, the humans and the animals, sustained them in a certain way. And now they have upgraded their technology that they no longer have a need for us. So it's time to just create our absolute removal of the human biology as we are now, upgrade that human biology into a transhuman being. So the very reason why this is occurring is because the elitists and the eugenicists are also transhumanists. And finding the immortality that they seek is found in the transhuman equation. Their immortality is found in transhumanism. This to them has set them apart from just thinking or believing they are gods to actually becoming gods with immortality. Transhumanism is actually the removal of God from humans. It is the removal of the true prime creator. It is the circumvention of these predators to take over the human body, the human physiology, and move their consciousness into ours, therefore taking our souls from us into themselves. And the way they found it to be most sustaining is through AI technology. And in order to feed the AI technological beast, humans must be transhumaned. You see, we've been feeding the Satanists for thousands of years with our flesh, with our labor, with our adrenochrome, with our sexuality, with everything that we are. We've been feeding them more on a physiological level than anything else, because they haven't seen us as intelligence or in need of our minds or our emotions. The Luciferian beast is all about the mind. It's all about taking and utilizing the human experience and expression terraforming it into a transhuman being, and then being a battery to feed the AI entity that is ruling and taking over this world now. So what this means, quite succinctly, is that they have created every one of their needs fulfillment. Everything that they need now, clothing, food, all of it, all of their fulfillment. They have robotics. They have the technology to provide. So they are now ready to do away with humanity in favor of a small populace of transhuman, computerized humanoids who can live well on the synthetic foods, have no requirement for medical care, have no requirement for nature, no requirement for the sun, love, connection, or even any original human emotion. Now, over this next year and over the next few months, we're going to start seeing, over probably through 2030, the final moments for humanity. But when it comes to being a part of nature or the natural world as we are designed presently, we might be looking at months, maybe a year, and they will be taking nature away from us too. And at this juncture, inside this timeline reality, we have sustained enough alteration of our DNA by the things that I named off before, chemtrails, vaccines, and so on and so forth, we are now successfully attached intrinsically to our devices. We're so addicted to them, truly. And we're so disconnected in these big, formidable gaps from our own souls, let alone the true prime divine creator. Because all of us that have been living our lives through religion have been actually praying to Satan. We've been enlivening and emboldening that realm, because everything that we're coming off of is what the Satanists wrote. They designed all the religions. They designed every part of that. And so while we're practicing and playing in the realm of the religions, we're just feeding the satanic beast, you see? And in the spiritual movements, Buddhism and the Taoism and Scientology and New Ageism, we are feeding and have been fed through that the new Luciferian agenda. Nonetheless, what they have been doing is systematically breaking us down. So, like I said, fourth-dimensional beings would be body, which we spend a lot of time taking care of, emotions, which we spend a lot of time denying, our minds, which they have spent a lot of time dumbing us down, and our souls that they have literally breached away from us by keeping us consumed in the labor and in the survival mechanisms, in the chaos, in the violence, etc., and so on. So we have actually walked away from our souls and taken on the ego that allows us to be self-sustaining in an environment where violence and trauma is a constant fix in our lives. It's a fixture. And therefore, ego allows us to navigate these systems and agendas, where soul would say, you don't have to be a part of this. This is not real. This is an illusion. Come here, step this way, step that way. So they've been doing everything they can to remove the souls from our beingness. When we as humans, and those of us who are calling ourselves truthers, doesn't make anybody truthers, but those that are seeking truth and new information, and those that are not, but primarily those that are, in order to rise up and be connected to our souls again, being connected to all of our emotions without denying it, by healing our bodies as best we can, balancing and stabilizing and removing the dumbed down particulates that are in our body, literally crushing our will and our knowledge, our brains. But in order to do that, we got to want the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We've got to want to know all of this that I'm talking about. Because if we don't know this, the horrors of the many realities of our past and present become so monumental, and we can't break through any of it if we don't have the knowledge. If we don't have the knowledge, we can't rise up, and we can't change and alter the reality and manifest any kind of new reality whatsoever. So here's the truth, like it or not. Transhumanism is in process, and it is going to take place. Our lives in nature are pretty much over. Our freedoms, or what little freedoms we thought we had, they have been revoked. This now COVID-19 virus, which is a deception, there is no virus killing people. You can say, but here there's lots of people. Well, all those places have 5G. All of them. There is no particular virus that is killing anybody. The COVID-19 virus is just having gone through its first wave. We're in a kind of a quiet time, and the second wave should be happening in autumn, because they'll start using the cooler weather to say, see, it's back. And then the question is, why are we still wearing masks in the heat? Because it's all being killed off. They said so themselves. They said it cannot survive hot temperatures. Therefore, we can't pass it on even if it was true. So why are people still wearing masks? Because the Luciferian beast says, oh, let's see who is willing to be enslaved. Let's see how many are willing to believe in their enslavement, how easily they can be maneuvered into taking in the next stride, and then the next stride, which is coming down the pike. This is just in its first wave to set the tone for the future. This isn't going to change. It's not going to get better. They're going to keep creating waves through the mainstream media for most people to become so fear-ridden, believing that they are contaminated, that all people are contaminated, in order to start to truly start depopulating all of us, weeding out the dissonant people, the ones that are standing up and saying, oh, this is ridiculous, we're not going to do this, this is not true. Allowing those that are taking the masks and believing in it, and starting to separate us all out so that they can pick and choose who they're going to let live and who they're going to depopulate and cull. All bioweapons and frequency weapons will be used against humanity to restrain, to confine, and to terminate us. That would be your smart meters. That would be the Wi-Fi is a slow kill. The 5G could be a slow kill, and it can be a quick kill. The 5G system can be programmed to just target an individual. It can be to target a family, a community, a street, all the neighbors. It can the smart meters can be used to start fires, to implode so that the house goes up in flames, DUW off the planes. They have the technology, they have everything that they need to absolutely control all of us with fear and with this dread and doom that is being cast upon us. Only a select few will live on, but only as the massively dumbed down, microchipped, transhumaned, controllable slaves that will be placed into smart cells inside smart cities serving the gods of immortality, not the true prime creator, and not the loving, conscious human heart, and not the unconditional love of animals. The reality is the COVID-19 is the first step. Next will be the vaccine. The vaccine will be the RNA vaccine that will be self-replicating. Once the people take that vaccine, it is all over. That biology can never be healed. That person will be consumed. The soul will be consumed. There will be no hope for even saving the soul of that human being. Of course, we'll be microchipped, so we will be just like the Jews were tattooed. The people will be microchipped so that they can be managed and monitored. And the cryptocurrency is to manage and monitor. Putting us online is to manage and monitor. And the tiny home movement, remember the tiny home movement? That was put out into the populace to see how many people would enjoy moving into tiny spaces. Because what's coming in these resilient smart cities are smart cells. Where you go in, there's a bed, there's a toilet, there's a sink, maybe a little desk, and you plug in for the night. You are given a job that you are to do. You don't choose your job, you're given the job. What they want you to do. You will leave your smart cell. You will go provide and perform for them whatever it is that they want from you. And when you're done, when they say you're done, you'll go back to your cell and you will plug in. You will have to plug into the wall. You will have to be plugged into the 5G, 6G, 7, and 8G systems in order to reboot the transhuman computerized part of who you are and will become. For those who will be allowed the grace of being a transhuman being. How's that sound? In that picture, there's only one person allowed per cell. Families will be gone. There will not be procreation anymore. There will no longer be children that we give birth to. And that's where transgenderism comes in, and I won't get into that today. But transgenderism is to create bodies that can no longer have children, to make people want to be in Baphomet bodies, to be the opposite of who the true prime creator created them to be. Transgenderism is being created by chemicals and fetal cell and vaccines and all sorts of things. It is not because somebody was born that way. They're being created that way. And they're being created that way because for the human future, there will be no gender. For the human future, gender is gone. There will not be an identification of male or female. It's going to be a unification of bringing both genders into one. That's the trajectory. That's what happened to the Greys before they actually had gender. They were female, they were male. But they blended through technology and became what they are now. And that's our trajectory, except it's going to look a little different. Gender-wise, it's going to be very similar. But the transhumanism is going to be changing us. They want to keep the human form. They just want to change our brain or make us create bionic bodies or super powerful human beings. However, in order to do that, you have to have dumbed down souls that will allow these things to happen to them. Another part of the transhumanism agenda is cloning. And cloning is very, very real. They say that Dolly was cloned and it failed. She didn't live very long. That was another lie to deceive us. To see our horror. To say who is going to say this is horrible. And other people say, wow, this is interesting. What are they doing? You see, everything is just to put it out there to see how we're going to respond to it. But cloning is real. Cloning has been real. It exists. And we see this, we hear about like Barbara Streisand is on her third cloned dog of her original dog. We see cloned actors on the movie screens. And we just think that they are their own people. This is Julia Roberts. This is this person. This is Michael J. Fox. And who's that other guy? I can't think of it. My brain's kind of dead today. I'm very tired. But nonetheless, in so many of these actors, you see such extreme lookalikes because the younger actor, the lookalike, is actually a cloned version of the real one. And here's the thing. here's the thing. Most of the actors, all the A-list actors, all the actors we've heard of their names, their musicians, and so on and so forth, government officials, politicians, they're all from the blue bloodlines, okay? They're all in some placement of the satanic system or the Luciferian part and parcel of it. And as you've seen, you see a lot of the old-time actors rising against Trump, right? Because, and they, very supportive of Obama. That's because Obama is part of this satanic first beast system. And those actors that have been employed as actors for all these years, they're part of the first beast system. That's why they're rising against Trump. Trump is a part of the second beast system, the Luciferian system. And yet again, he's been seen to have relationships with people in the first beast system because they're all interrelated. They're all of these bloodlines, and they're all in operation of controlling and ruling. So when you're looking at actors and you're idolizing them and you're thinking they're gorgeous and they're wonderful and you'd love to meet them and so on and so forth, you are literally looking at people from these bloodlines that most of them are partially transgendered, not fully. They are believers in Baphomet. They are believers in Moloch and Baal. They are part of the Cabal. The entertainment business was created by the Masons. It is owned by the Cabal. You're not going to be hired unless you're part of them. And so when you're looking at these people, oftentimes you're seeing clones of the original version. Have you seen those posts where various actors look like people that lived 100 years ago or 300, 500, 1,000 years ago? We've been through resets. We have made technological progress in the past. DNA has been stored from previous resets. People are being created in breeding programs with old DNA from 100 years ago or 500 or 1,000 years ago. That sounds ludicrous. That's totally sci-fi, totally Twilight Zone. Do you think that these sci-fi movies and the show Twilight Zone, all the things that we talk about, they aren't based on real life events? Of course they are. Of course they are. Everything that they talk about in movies has, is, or will happen. They take the DNA and they create in petri dishes and they insert in breeding programs women, humans, kept imprisoned to breed for 10 years, having babies. They're given all these backstories, raised by all these people. They always keep the male DNA. So it all stays in the family. So they can run and control this entire world. They live in wealth in the lap of luxury and fame and narcissism while we break our backs to support all of them. It's all a game. It's all deception. These are not other stars. These are clones. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is cryonics, because that's a part of this. And cryonics is quite valid and has been in use for decades, perhaps much, much longer. And I believe much longer. So if we think that the people would actually think that the Bushes and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and popes and monarchs and Crowley and Hitler and Meyer and Graham and all corporate heads and all hidden bloodlines and all of these people allegedly are deceased, all these people that are, we call elitists, all these people that are political, scientific, and all the entertainment puppets, that they are literally buried in these caskets, turning to dust. We really must think that again and think through that with critical thought. I don't believe for a moment that these entities are dead. I believe that when they're aging out, they're placed in cryonic centers, and then they are brought back to life through cloning, being able to move memory and spirit, not soul, but the spirit essence that animates their body through the reptoid or whatever they are, and is able to animate a new body That's what I firmly believe, because here's the thing. These beings are psychopaths. They're sociopaths and they're narcissists. And let me tell you, no narcissist is so loving and so gracious that whatever I do in my lifetime, I leave to my children and my children's children so that they can have the legacy that I created for them to have. Oh, no, no, no. They're not going to think like that. Their whole mindset is that they experience everything they've been working on and creating. They're not going to miss out on that. There's no way. So what that means is they have to be part and parcel of all of this. Their whole thing, everything they've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years is to bring in this new world order. It is to conquer the world. It is to conquer humanity. It is to conquer animals. It is to conquer this earth. They're not going to miss out on it. No, they will not. That's why they have these cryonic centers, and I don't know how they do it. I'm not part of that. I like to research more of that, but I do know that that's what's happening. These entities are very much alive. And either they're in some cryonics jar or freezer, or they're in some underground apartment drinking the adrenochrome and doing all the things that continue to create their fountain of youth. But they are alive. They are alive. And they're going to watch this thing become very realized. They are not going to let go of the human population. They are mounting up our enslavement. Whatever our enslavement looked like, as we well know, through our lifetime, our parents, so radically is this going to change as to know that what we are going to experience in this moment, this time in history, and their hard-earned immortality is going to happen. We are going to be more enslaved. We're going to be enslaved unlike we've ever been enslaved before, to the point that we have lost our souls. And they are not going to miss a moment of gaining their immortality. Whatever it takes, whatever they have to do, they're going to have it. Unless the majority of us rise. Unless the majority of us know this and we rise. So do we think that they are so unselfish to leave the victory to their lineage alone? Could a psychopath ever do that? No, I don't think so. This is everything they've been waiting for. Total human and global consumption. Complete, unadulterated control of every living thing. All technology at a level for full success. AI perfected and in control, sucking us into its interwebbed orbit, interfacing with us like replicated mirrors, grooming us inside the internet of all things, so that our electromagnetic frequency fields and consciousness is not only powering it, but we are in fact enlivening this AI technology, this cloud system, to become sentient. You see, the more we put into our devices, the more energy, the more emotion, our thoughts, our memories, our life experiences. This is why social media doesn't go away. They could be shutting us down and disconnecting us from this, bar none, so that our awakening slows down. They could take the internet away from us from learning things, but they don't. Why? Because by keeping us online, by keeping us posting, by keeping us feeling, by keeping us clicking the emotional emojis, by keeping us sharing our memories, what dream we had, what we had for a meal, how it was with our husband or wife, the sex we had, our pets, all of it. It is feeding the AI technological God, the cloud. The cloud is the AI technological God, and it is creating it to be sentient. It is enlivening its own thought. It now is beginning to think for itself and to have its own emotions. We have powered that by what we are allowing ourselves to do. through ignorance and unknowing, and knowing and being addicted. All of their I's are dotted and all their T's are crossed. All their pieces of the puzzles are fitting perfectly together. Every chess move meticulously choreographed and orchestrated. The 5% that will be allowed to live in their new, altered form of transhumanism will be those who will serve their masters in some hellacious manner, whether it is in a sweatshop, or it is in a brothel, or it's on the movie screen. But the fuckery of the transhuman being entertaining the masters like fools, like clowns, circus animals, and still we will be full-on indentured slaves in such a way that we will never, ever be able to free ourselves. It will be eternal. And if you think that I've lost my mind, then I ask that you go look in the mirror to yourself. I honestly have not lost my way nor my mind. I have woken up, and I'm in process of waking up. In fact, I've found my mind, and I've stopped feeling so lost. It is the disbelievers. It is those people who will come to say that what I'm saying is not true, or think that I'm crazy. These people, the non-believers, they do not yet understand that resetting humanity is not a new event, but this is the latest transgrade, and it will be our last. A computerized brain with synthetic skin no longer can be called a human being, especially when the soul of the person has collapsed and is now kept captive inside a crystalline egg for who knows what reason far into the future. I have talked with somebody that I know well enough to know that they're very much into it, and they told me that the soul will be removed from the transhuman being and placed in a chrysalis. For what purpose, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far, and I doubt we will. So, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to notice and do research. And I will be making more podcasts on this transhumanistic agenda. I will be talking about transhumanism in more scientific terms. I will be talking about transgenderism and what that means. But this is what is happening to us, my friends. We already are in process of it. It's just so hard to notice. We still feel organic, but we're nothing just organic anymore. We aren't. The animals aren't. Everything that we eat has the geoengineering in it. And everything that we're thinking and feeling now has some form of radiation involved in change, and chemicals in changing the way we think, in changing the way we feel, our perceptions. The moment that we stop intaking fluoride, the moment we stop intaking all chemicals, whether it's our laundry soaps or what we wash ourselves in or what we clean our homes in, and we just absolutely remove every single chemical, and we use just baking soda, we use just apple cider vinegar, we use water, we use grapefruit seed extract and different things like that that are all natural, we will start to detox our mind, our bodies, our pineal glands, our pituitary glands, our adrenals, all of it. And we will begin to get clear. Those of us that are already somewhat truthing, that still are using all those things, imagine how much clearer you will be when you start detoxing all the chemicals and the radiation from your body. Our minds will wake up, and where we are having cognitive deficiencies will change. We will begin to repair ourselves. The problem is, will we do so in time? Because this agenda is upon us, and they want to move it fast. And all I'm asking you now is to tell me, Do you see any part of what I'm saying is valid, real, and true? Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. I look forward to sharing more in the future. Do take care, and just remember, this is Raven White Dove signing out while rising in love. If you like what you hear, please be sure to like this video. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel and go ahead and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. See in the description how you can support my channel to grow, bringing you the best content that I can. Thank you so much for visiting and for your support. This is Raven White Dove signing out while rising in love.